Ciphers of Time, Awakening the Legacy. Chapter 8, The Siddhis. The first rays of the sun had barely begun to pierce the veil of night when a frantic pounding on the door jolted Manu from his sleep. He stumbled out of bed, rubbing his eyes as he made his way towards the source of the commotion. Just as he was about to reach the door, it swung open violently, and a frantic man burst into the room. Manu recognized him from Swamiji Vishwa's group at the trees where they had met yesterday evening. The disciple's face was contorted with several emotions. "Nothing worked," the young man gasped, doubling over as he tried to catch his breath. Manu's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice thick with concern. "Manu, it's me, Shantanu," the disciple said, straightening up. His eyes were wide with urgency, pleading for understanding. A cold shiver ran down Manu's spine as he turned to glance at his brother's form in the tangled sheets of the bed. Shantanu lay there, motionless and deep in slumber, oblivious to the turmoil that unfolded around him. For a moment, Manu's heart raced with panic, but then, with a silent affirmation, he grasped the gravity of the situation. The reprieve they had been granted was nothing more than a fleeting illusion, a temporary solution that had done little more than postpone the inevitable. "Let's go," Manu said, steeling himself. His mind was clear now, focused. They needed help, and there was only one person who could provide it. Together, Manu and the figure who wore his brother's essence like a second skin set out in the early dawn light to seek out Vishwa. The streets were quiet, the city still lost in dreams, as they navigated their way through the narrow alleys that led to the abode of the enigmatic sage. The previous day's events replayed in Manu's mind. Vishwa's words, his insights, had resonated with truth and wisdom. If anyone could make sense of the chaos that had upended their lives, it was him. They found Vishwa seated outside his modest dwelling, seemingly awaiting their arrival. The air around him hummed with an unspoken knowledge, a testament to the power that lay within his grasp. Without a word, Manu fell to his knees before the sage, the urgency of their plight written plainly across his face. "Vishwa, we need your help," Manu began, his voice laden with the weight of their predicament. "You know what happened yesterday, how you helped us in our most critical time, but it wasn't enough. The problem persists, and my brother, he is still trapped." He gestured to the disciple beside him, whose presence bore the unmistakable mark of Shantanu's spirit. There was a pause, a moment of silence that seemed to stretch on indefinitely, as Vishwa regarded them with piercing eyes. "Please," Manu implored, his plea underscored by the bond of brotherhood that tethered him to Shantanu. "We don't know where else to turn." The air was filled with tension as they awaited Vishwa's response, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. Vishwa's gaze settled upon them, a silent acknowledgement before he finally spoke. "What you perceive as problems are indeed siddhis," he began, his voice a tranquil stream that seemed to smooth the furrowed brows of both brothers. "Such powers are not gained easily. They are the fruits of intense penance and spiritual discipline, often pursued over many lifetimes. There are 8 primary siddhis and 10 secondary siddhis," Vishwa continued his explanation. "Although there are several versions that claim that there are more secondary siddhis. These powers include abilities such as levitation, telepathy, clairvoyance, and several others that grant control over the elements of nature." Manu's mind raced, trying to grapple with the magnitude of Vishwa's words. How could 2 ordinary men stumble upon such mysterious phenomena? "Shantanu," Vishwa continued, addressing the disciple who stood anxiously by Manu's side, "you possess the siddhi called parakaya praveshanam. It allows the bearer to enter and animate another's body." His eyes locked with Shantanu's, or rather, the disciples that now housed his restless spirit. It is no minor feat. The air around them seemed charged, crackling with the revelation of mystical secrets. "And you, Manu," Vishwa turned, fixing him with a stare that seemed to see through time itself, "have achieved the siddhi called manojava, the ability to teleport at will. It is as if space bends to your very thoughts." Manu swallowed hard, the truth a pill too large to digest. He glanced at his brother's prone form, then back at the disciple. The implications were staggering, unfathomable. How had their simple lives become entwined with myth and legend? Mastering these cities requires dedicated paths, Vishwa said, his tone shifting to one of caution. Paths that are unique and arduous for each. The brothers exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them. Fear mingled with fascination in their eyes, the human dance of uncertainty when faced with the unknown. Yet behind it all, Manu's resolve hardened. Whatever these powers were, he would face them. For his brother, for himself, for the life that awaited them beyond this mystic upheaval. Master Vishwashi, Manu began, his voice heavy with the weight of the revelations. We are overwhelmed by these sudden and unwanted powers. We need your guidance. Controlling cities is not a simple task, Vishwa continued, his voice laced with gravity. You have been thrust into a storm without sails. Without training, these abilities could lead to calamities unforeseen. Shantanu stepped forward, the spark of adventure lighting up his face. But there is a way to master them? To control the power of Parakaya Praveshanam? Indeed, Vishwa nodded, but it will require discipline and resolve. You must learn to navigate the currents of your spirit, Shantanu, to return to your vessel when you choose, not at the whim of chance. Manu's brow furrowed as he listened, every fiber of his being longing for normalcy. And what of my affliction, he asked, the word teleportation feeling alien on his tongue. I cannot keep vanishing and reappearing. Ah, Manojava, Vishwa murmured, understanding the turmoil that churned within Manu. Your mind has touched the fabric of space, and now you find yourself a prisoner of its folds. I can teach you to sense the ripples before they become waves, to avoid being swept away. Is there no other way? Manu's voice was a mix of desperation and defiance. Can we not simply undo what has been done? Patience, Manu, Vishwa cautioned. To remove a thorn, one must first know its barbs. Shantanu's excitement was palpable as he turned to his brother, his eyes alight with potential. Think of the good we could do with such gifts, he urged. The lives we could touch and change. Manu's response came from a place of concern, his protective instincts as an elder brother surfacing. Or the harm we could cause, he countered, the image of his brother's sleeping body casting a shadow over his enthusiasm. Let us begin with control, Vishwa interjected, sensing the tension between the two. Only then can you choose your path with clarity. The guru rose to his feet, the air around him seeming to respond to his very presence. Come, disciples of fate, he beckoned. The journey is long, and time is but another river to be crossed. As they followed Vishwa, Shantanu's stride was buoyant with the thrill of possibility, while Manu moved with a reluctant determination. Each step took them deeper into the unknown, where myths walked hand in hand with mortal men, and the line between the two grew ever more indistinct. Manu paced the cool stone floor of Vishwa's secluded chamber, his mind a tumultuous sea of worry and urgency. The scent of sandalwood incense lingered in the air, doing nothing to soothe his frayed nerves. He stopped abruptly, turning on his heel to face the serene figure of Vishwa, who sat cross-legged, as still as the banyan tree outside. Swamiji, Manu began, his voice firm with resolve. I appreciate your willingness to teach us, but I must be clear. I have no desire to keep these cities. My life is in London, with Vimala. I need to get back to my normal routine, away from all this chaos. Vishwa's eyes, deep pools of wisdom, met Manu's gaze steadily. Manu, he said, his tone reflecting an ocean of calm, I understand your longing for the life you've built. However, these powers you've stumbled upon are like wild stallions. Before you can free them, you must first learn to rein them in, or they will trample everything in their path, including your desire for normalcy. Manu's brow furrowed in thought. He knew that Vishwa spoke the truth. Uncontrolled, these cities were the more curse than blessing. He nodded reluctantly, acknowledging the path laid out before him. Then we have no choice, he conceded. Indeed, Vishwa agreed, rising smoothly to his feet. But heed this, both of you. His piercing gaze swept from Manu to Shantanu, who listened intently. The training you are about to undergo is sacred and secret. It must not be shared with anyone else at any cost. Such knowledge is potent and perilous in uninitiated hands. Shantanu frowned slightly but nodded in understanding. Manu, feeling the weight of the condition, swallowed hard. We understand, Vishwa. Our lips were sealed. Failure to adhere to this, Vishwa continued, his voice gaining a steely edge, will result in immediate termination of your training. And know this, should you betray this trust, there will be no second chances. I will not be able to help you again. The gravity of the situation settled over the brothers like a heavy cloak. They exchanged a glance, an unspoken agreement passing between them. With their fates intertwined with the ancient currents of mythological powers, silence was a small price to pay for salvation. Very well, Manu said, accepting the terms. We agree to your conditions. Good, Vishwa acknowledged with a nod. Now let us begin the journey towards mastery. Remember, control is the key to liberation. As they embarked on the path of the unknown, Manu felt the reluctant acceptance within himself solidify into determination. This was not the adventure he had envisioned when he boarded the plane to India, but it was the one fate had chosen for him, and he would walk it, step by uncertain step, until he could return home, truly free.